trample.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, though.
I don't know what kids do. I'm not laughing. I'm crying. Can anyone come? Somebody help! He's definitely breathing faster.
Okay, we're going to change this
Okay, so this is locked, so what I'm going to have you do is get up, go right inside that door right there, pull a sheet over your head, find your little corner. Okay. Yep.
That person right there is dead. He's dead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
She's bleeding out. Bleeding out? Okay, cool. Yeah.
You can just collapse.
Yeah, you gotta pull it. Alright, ready? 3, 2, 1. Can you do it? Here, something, I got it. Ready? Alright, 3, 2, 1. Go on through the chain, okay, Bob? Okay, cool. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I let go. I let go too. Alright, that's not as high as it goes. Alright, well, we're gonna keep playing dead here. Keep playing dead here.
Yeah. Alright. Who's strong are you? I love you. Okay. Okay, we got you.
you?
That guy really should be out.
Red Sox.
You have an entry on?
I'm like maroon color.
I'm like red.
I got to down the stairs. The top. Yeah, I can't put my foot and someone stepped on my side in my face. Yeah. How does it look? Okay, I can breathe. No. So, be brave.
There we go.
If I don't make it, Joe, I need you to do something normal.
Cool, so we got two.
If I die, I need you to go into my house. Get the lockbox.
Sit down right there. Good. We're gonna get to it in a minute.
The code.
Alright, I'm moving guys over
The
here.
code is.
Everybody, Red, go here.
Open the lockbox and destroy what's inside. I'm coming. You can't move.
Scott, you said green and you
Is there anything on the side, Joe?
Where are you?
No, what's the right one?
It's 5 and 12 right over.
What happened?
All you walk to the green flag. If you are physically able to walk, walk to the green flag.
Okay, we're going on three.
infectant disease areas out of sight.
I broke my foot, and I got stepped on my face, and I got stepped on my side. I have labored speech, but I can breathe normally, and I'm conscious.
Excellent, thank you. What about you, sir?
Hello, I'm Red. My main complaint is I fell down the stairs. My respiration is normal. My mental status is normal. And I have multiple bruises all over my back.
Yeah, so I have a fractured femur. I have a higher than normal respiration rate, which is why the tag is immediate. And so I believe they're going to evacuate me fast for these poor fellas.
Have you been tagged as immediate?
Yep.
Young lady, did she take care of you? Has your breathing calmed down at all? None? No? I'm sorry, she said what?
Okay.
He's out.
Yep. It was wonderful. And that looked awful. I was.
You don't know what happened, so yes.
Okay. Want to get this guy out here? Yeah. Okay. Hey, Justin, can we, are you able to walk to the ambulance? Or you need to be, put out here? That's right. Let me know if anything hurts. We'll do that next hour. All right, come on. Let me know if you feel sick or if anything hurts, okay? Sorry, that's no matter
Okay, so. Yeah, he's confused.
Yeah, he's confused, but he also he doesn't remember how to.
I got a girl looking for that. Moving them on up.
What's your name?
Did we transport that guy yet?
Transported it on the back door. People gonna put this car around here and get some nice fresh air to breathe, okay? What's hurting you?
Well, then he needs to be going before he does.
Right. Feel a little dizzy, nauseous?
Big with no back.
Your stomach doesn't feel easy. What about your neck?
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, my back really hurts. Here, I'll get to him. I gotta say this guy got lost.
We are, yes.
All right.
got 5 reds and went to EH. I got 2 yellows that are waiting to get transported, and we took 17 greens and sent them out to Westlake. So that's your grand total by my math of 27.
All right. Were there any yellows other than those 2 awaiting transport?
Not that I know of.
All right, thank you. A lot of stuff went well, and I was very pleased with everyone's performance here. So, big thank you to all the responders and evaluators and patients. The process we're going to do right here is called a hot wash. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this process. What we're doing is creating a blame-free, open environment to discuss aspects of the drill. And what I mean by that is anything that happened, whether it was response, incident command, how we ran the drill, logistics, or artificialities, anything like that. So I'm just going to open the floor up to discussion if anyone has anything they'd like to point out or add. Go ahead, Ryan.
I saw a few people start CPR, both EMTs and police. In the MCI, you never start CPR. Most of the other was that people did CPR. Yes, they were unconscious, but they all had pulses and no breathing, like in the MCI. So that's something which you might want to adjust.
Any of the responders, how was the drill run? Did you think that things could have been done differently? Were there any criticisms you have for us? We can just go around the room if you'd like.
It's kind of challenging to find out who was actually in charge.
Yeah.
You know, in a mass incident, should be at least one agency, one person you can answer to and say, what are we doing? And they should be able to direct. So, you know, this one here,
you need communication. You need somebody that will be in charge of communications. You're going to have different agencies coming in here. All of us are going to be on different frequencies. Most of them, at the beginning, almost everything is going to be word of mouth. It's going to be, so you need somebody in charge right away, which in this case, and just so you guys know, almost certainly what would happen was fire would come in, we would take charge from Case Western Police, and then everybody from there, we would actually bring a big response to something like this. And we already have an incident plan set up, but when we first show up, you need somebody for Case to say, this is the guy that's in charge for Case, and you know who your coordination people are. And one thing that you didn't do that you should do in any kind of mass casualty is right away you should be recording. You have to have somebody recording everything as far as who's injured, how severe the injuries are, where they're going to. Because what's going to happen is you're going to have 40 people coming in here and saying, I'm missing my roommate. And if you don't have names, you don't have where they're going, what hospital they went to, it's going to be really chaotic. And so, I mean, right now all you have is patients. That's not the way it's going to be. You're going to have 200 people rushing to the scene, looking for their friends, getting in your way. That's something the police are going to have to deal with. So.
All right. Now the triage tags had identification numbers in the top. Were those utilized at all during transport?
They got wet and ripped apart.
I'd like to say that not all patients had a tag. Like the patient I was following, she was never tagged throughout the whole thing. She was evaluated by multiple people. So like she got evaluated multiple times, but no one ever wrote any of it down. There was no tag on her at all.
In answer to the got wet problem, these normal triage tags aren't like paper like these ones, where these are just specific training ones. So rain never plays nice.
Did anyone have any problems with the triage tags other than just water? Were those uniform? Did ever know how to use them?
One thing I could have done differently is, as the communications officer, I have an inkling. I should have been the communications where everybody kind of comes to me and I kind of distribute what's going on and tell everybody to be more clear. I just saw injuries and I made a few calls, but then my inkling was to kind of jump in and help and then tell people to go certain places, but I got to be on the radio and giving out information rather than kind of jumping in.
So, throughout the process, okay.
Where was the actual central location? Because like when we first heard, it was at Gilbert, UH, far as the tape locations, far, a central location.
All right. Actually, that's a great question, though. So, for whoever was responding, can someone clue in as to who was incident command? Did incident command change, and where was that located?
Incident command basically wasn't existent when we got here. And a situation like this where it's a storm or something where you're not worried about the incident is basically over when the tornado comes through. You can have the incident command basically right on the scene, fairly close to the scene. The situation will definitely change, and we talked about this before. If this was a bomb situation, a shooter situation, something like that, the incident command would be further away because any kind of bomb situation, you have to worry about a secondary device. Any kind of shooter situation, you have to worry about two shooters. You have to worry about one actually doing the shooting, another one waiting for the first responders to show up, and then him getting involved. So incident command is always going to be closer on something like this and further away on something that's you know, a bomb situation, especially a bomb situation. There's almost always a secondary device.
Yeah, that's a good point because usually we train for the active shooter and bomb situations, so I'm used to putting other units further away from the scene. Tornado, I've never done a drill like this before. It was kind of random, but I didn't even think about it. Just put them on the second floor, just keep it really, really, really close. I thought Guilford's close, but it's still pretty far away from like a mass casualty event like this.
More or less when this concludes, but I started the incident action plan, started roughing it out, so when we're able, I'll go over some of what we did on this.
So, did you take over incident command when you were at the
Eventually, yeah.
Okay, and were you located in just one spot?
I was supposed to be located on the second floor. I finally made it there at the end of the drill.
Now, of the responders, did everyone here know who's incident command by the end of the drill?
By the end?
Yeah. Okay.
That's part of the problem was we were all different communication. So
Yeah, another thing about Tinkham Beale, I know it's a new building, but with all the glass and the way it's built, you can barely hear anybody. I was on the radio quite a bit, but even my officers couldn't hear me over our radio. So that's going to be a big problem for this building. If anything happens, you got to really get on the ball to pay attention and listen because you can't hear anything. It's a lot of static.
I'm going to second that because I've been in a number of your buildings here, and I think they are designed to stop some communications because you have some vulnerable areas. I think there's some areas that they just, maybe they don't want outsiders to be able to call into. But the bottom line is a lot of communications drop when we go to some of the buildings out there, more so than Cleveland State or any other place.
Right, so in a real incident, what would be the communications plan? How would case EMS, case police talk to other responding agencies?
what would basically happen, and because we're all different communication frequencies and everything else, you're going to have runners. In an actual situation, you're going to have more than enough people to handle that. And basically what I would do is I would have grabbed him, he would have stayed with me the whole time, and he would have had somebody going to his officers. I would have had somebody from EMS doing the same thing. And I could talk to EMS, I can't talk to you guys. So I would have to have somebody that actually, with a face-to-face communication, is actually going out and telling me what to do.
Follow up to the communications plan. I know that the university, at least at one point, has access to Mark's radios. Is that something that can be used in a real-world mass casualty incident?
You can if you're going to talk to our communications, but not necessarily to him. See, this is the part that gets you. I don't know if you're aware of it, but case police have made a request for Cleveland Fire Department channels, so that they will have access, but it's the same thing. Would your person on the scene be able to have a radio that could communicate the incident commander? Because it seems like it's only set up between your police and our dispatch kind of thing. So the reason I'm saying that is that with limited radios comes limited communications. This still comes down to where face-to-face is great value.
From a patient treatment perspective, how does everyone think that went? You don't have any particular comments or anything like that about patient treatment?
Would have been nice to have more supplies, actually use it.
Like more training supplies to use?
It would have been nice to use the splints, actually put them in, put them in play. Bandaging and dressings, more backboards, maybe a couple cots.
I saw triage locations switched 3 times. Case police were first on scene. One of the officers very prudently said, okay, if you can walk, go over there. Made a walking wounded area, so that really nicely separated out walking wounded and others. And then KCMS got on scene. I saw the same thing happen. Walking wounded stayed in the same place, but the red and triages red and yellow were moved elsewhere. And then as additional municipal responders got on scene, eventually when the flags came up, it moved once again. But I saw a couple of non-ambulatory patients be moved across the room. I think there was one 3 times, and so that was a waste of time and resources, certainly.
Were the triage locations clearly marked in your opinions?
No. Flags come up.
Okay. So the triage flags are definitely a helpful thing.
Hey Jeff. I think it was you at the end. You tried to improvise a stretcher. Good job on that one. Unfortunately,
we didn't have many resources.
Yeah,
so.
good job trying to use your what's around you. And then I had another note about backboards. You guys dropped off the backboards outside, but didn't leave any of the straps, head blocks, or anything like that for them to use. So they had just the boards with nothing else. And then once you guys were all done outside and all the patients were brought inside, you guys brought all the gear with you and didn't just leave it out there, which I thought was cool.
I think at the beginning we had a delay though, because like KCMS called in and said we're arriving on scene or parking, and I was with police officers and they were confused by that. It's like, are you on scene or are you not on scene? Like parking was kind of iffy, because they called in and said we're bringing a patient. You said, well, we're still parking, so are you either here or you're not here? And then you said, well, we're setting up triage. Well, is triage set up, or are you just kind of in the process of it? And we need to have definitive, it's ready, we're here, please come.
Inside as soon as possible. Really appreciate that from a real world health and safety perspective. So, excellent work there. Does anyone have what's up?
Yeah, and like brought up the knowing who's in charge a lot, who's sub in charge and who's in charge of the whole thing. And it seemed like as responders we were getting a lot of orders and we didn't know which to follow. And it'd be nice to have a change.
Now, in a real-world incident, the triage equipment which we have, we usually don't use tags. We have triage tape. Would that be compatible with what other responders have been using for their MCI bags, where patients have to be triaged more than once? What would end up happening here?
As long as everybody knows what the tape stands for.
It's the same.
As far as identifying who's in charge, don't we use vests in situations like this so that they stand out? Is that how that works normally?
Right. I know that instead of incident command vests in cases emergency management plan, I'm not sure who would actually be responsible for
Seems like that would have been helpful.
But do any of the agencies, including EMS, Fire, carry incident command vests, anything like that?
Well, no, but we all wear our helmets, so we know who. Like, if you're looking for who's in charge, look for a white coat. There's going to be a chief. For the chief, you're going to have the officers. All the officers will have on their helmets. They're going to have a lieutenant or a captain. They're going to be in charge of their people. So we're fairly easy. It's fairly easy to figure out who's in charge as far as fire goes. The EMS, they'll have you guys will have your report. The captains will come out, and they're actually going to be in charge of EMS. And in all honesty, in a real world situation, everything, I mean, you can plan, but everything is kind of crazy. I mean, nothing ever goes smoothly, and it's just, it's kind of crazy how everything will fall apart. But you guys did the right thing. Take care of the worst hurt first. And you're going to have people that are going to say they're hurt, and there's nothing wrong with them. They were just want to be part of the incident. So you have to be able to separate those people out too. So.
There's one other thing too, rather than just a differentiation of a helmet or something, if you can elevate one of the things to establish would be like a command post, because then you'll at least know where the commander is, and it gives responding companies that respond into. But yeah, if you have a spread out incident, something like that really is effective. So that's just an idea. But where you have them respond into whatever directions you're giving them at that area, you should be able to at least tell them this is where you're going to receive some direction on the drill every time an incident.
I think a couple of things that may help. We've all been taught clearly delineated command post is the most important thing. And at that command post, the incident commander will be there, and then the incident commander's main function will be to get one person from every agency that's responding. He's going to grab a fireman with one of these radios, and he's going to say, "You're my link to every CFD personnel on the scene." He's going to grab someone from EMS. And if you need to talk to me, or you need to talk to EMS, or you need to talk to whoever, you grab that person by the collar and say, "I need so-and-so from fire." The other thing that probably would have helped, you need some type of command and control on the intake side of things. As units are arriving, you would need somebody, probably from Case PD, or someone directly tied to the incident commander, as units report to the scene. Because we pulled up and I talked to my chief, and it was kind of, this what, at least I had my chief that I could go to. Anybody else that shows up, what happens is when people just jump in and start, we're going to mix bowls. We're going to have, someone's going to look at somebody and think, "Oh, well, they're a red," and they're really not. And they're going to, and you need to have somebody directing people where to go. And the other thing is, I don't know if you guys are familiar with START and RPM. RPM and START, in a situation like this where you have, we had 27 or 30 odd victims, whatever it was. Real life, you're probably going to have closer to 100. Use that RPM. If they're unconscious, if they're not, and you can't fix them by opening their airways, we're moving on. We're not necessarily looking for, "Oh, well, this person can walk, but they're a back injury." That all goes out the window. If they can walk, they're a green. And then we're going to get them out. We're not, when you have 100 people or 150 people that you have to deal with, you can't go chapter and verse by the textbook. "Oh, they have back pain, well, they need to be boarded in college and this and that." The other thing we may want to consider, we sent our walking wounded as far away as we possibly could. If you're dealing with an external disaster, tornado, flood, power outage, UH is 5 blocks away. What is the possible external damage that they've been exposed to? The storm didn't just hit here. You got to make sure that you know what their situation is before you start sending people over there. You may have to send people, if it was a tornado, you may have to send them to Hillcrest. You may have to send them to Metro to get them outside of the area. And that's another thing. We start talking about zones. Coordinating things off, securing the area, having that intake person when, people show up, and it all goes. But if you have that clearly defined command post and that clearly defined commander, everything else gets easier. Once it is definitely, I walk in and I see that guy, the command post is clearly marked, and he's the incident. Oh, fine. Now we have a starting point. But when you have this ball, really nobody's quite sure. Everyone's trying to help, but too many cooks sometimes spoil the soup. So if you can streamline your operations, that's going to help you in the long run.
Now, if this had been an actual incident, I would have taken your police. We would have set up a red zone, which is the area that was affected. We would have set up a yellow zone, and then you would have the green zone. And walking wounded would have been moved right out to the green zone, so where they can be transported out. The red zone would be the area that was actually affected, and that's where the EMS people would have gone in. They would have worked on it, and you would have to have police strict access to the area.
So, what prevented that from happening in the drill? Because that's just not something that we could do.
We didn't have road permits.
No, the thing, when I showed up, nobody could tell me who was in charge. And I need when we come in here, I need somebody to talk to right away. And finally, I actually had to go find him, which is fine. But you you have to have somebody that's actually going to say, okay, I'm the communications officer, and let people know what's going on, and be able to point people to go, even your own people. I mean, as your own people show up, somebody should be there saying, okay, we need you over here. So you need a communications officer.
I think, did you guys wind up giving him one of your guys' radios? I thought I saw that at some point during the drill. I thought that was really good.
It's actually his.
Or someone gave him access to your channel.
It's a Cleveland radio.
Yeah, and I thought that was really good that I saw.
There's one other thing too, you know, when these kind of things happen, everybody concentrates on what's happening at the moment, and that's not necessarily wrong. But you gotta understand, if this was truly a tornado, there was structural damage to the building. Unless you can account for every student on the campus, every faculty member, everybody that's on this campus at that moment, then you're gonna have ongoing operations, because they're gonna continue to look for victims. So one thing that always happens is it gets dark out. So you're either gonna bring in portable power and lights, generators and lights, or you're going to have to find out which buildings on this campus have backup power, and that's where you can start to utilize some of that too. And as a matter of fact, you're going to need both. But that's one of the things to consider when you start to put together your initial plan, is what areas of the campus are we going to start to utilize? Because if nothing else, you're going to have people come in here for your black victims, or your victims that were in the temporary morgue. You're going to have a family visitation center, and you have to start thinking about some of these peripherals. And it's going to happen very quickly.
Yeah, we had an incident in Terry brought up at East High with the roof collapse. We have people searching for, accounting for victims, which is just a high school, well past midnight, because a couple of kids were supposed to go straight home, didn't go straight home. Well, you're a much larger area. You're gonna have students all over the place. You're gonna have to have somebody that comes in here and says, okay, this is a list of everybody that should have been on the campus, and you're going to have to check people off. And it gets crazy, and it doesn't happen. You don't end up being done in 3 hours. You end up being done in 30 hours or 40 hours. So it's, and if there's somebody missing, you have to start all over again, start looking. And that very realistically, in a tornado situation could happen. Somebody could be 5 blocks away. You know, they could be lifted and gone. So, you're assuming that everybody's going to be here. It might not be that case.
Another thing you could do too is think of outside agencies, volunteer groups such as American Red Cross. Have them come on campus and try to identify a building that works for ADA and some of the other things that are requirements for where you might have to put people after an incident. The Red Cross will do it, and then they also have the ability to set up and help you with different things that are a result of, like your secondary and tertiary events from a major incident.
Yeah, I had a question about how we were zoning for triage. Is there any policy to keep the actual death, people that are dead, from being visible to all the other patients? I noticed we were bringing dead victims across the whole floor, and people that weren't dead were looking. It was causing more of a panic, and maybe we could put them people somewhere out of the view of everybody else.
Definitely that more positioning should be taken into account, so it isn't disturbing people, and it also
it's going to happen, but I'm
saying worried. Sorry.
Yeah, I know, trust me. I was saying, I know you can't prevent all of it, but most of it, I'm sure you can kind of isolate it from being exposed.
So real fast, let's get a final definitive count of our patients. Like a total number, and then break down.
So we started with 40?
Yeah.
I have 17 green patients.
Okay.
5 red, 6 yellow.
We have 3 black also.
So,
that's 31, so we're down 9.
So.
There were at least 7 red.
Yeah, there was more red than
7 red?
At least.
Well, there was my patient who never had a tag, so how does she factor into all of this?
So what was the end result of the patient you were following? Where did they go?
Mine was originally green, and then Cleveland moved her to red when they realized that she was whatever, and then they eventually put her back on the green bus. They moved her to red so she could be supervised, and then they put her in the green bus to go away.
So some patients were not accounted for.
At least 5 black and green.
Yeah, did anybody go down, did anybody come to you
In the basement? No? Okay, so that's one black that was not accounted for.
What was the outcome?
Well, two officers that did the basement search.
We knew the black was in the basement.
Okay.
And we made the decision, resource-based, that we were gonna leave that black, because there was no point in us going to get them. They were out of the way. We're not gonna waste resources to go bring a dead body up here just so we can count him.
Yep.
We knew he was there, we marked his location.
Was that patient in the count of the 3 black? Was that patient the patient there? The dead
We had 2 blacks on the floor up here and one.
So he was included in that count. Okay, that's all I was looking for. Thank you.
Maybe and like more communication.
Deceased female evisceration? Is that, so that makes 4 black?
So I'm sorry, what were you saying?
As far as, okay, if you're gonna leave the patient down there, well, the dead dummy down there like that, the black, well, so we can continue to do our, walkthrough to see if there's other people around. And, another area.
Communication is definitely the key here.
Okay, you knew ahead of time what was 40 victims.
Correct.
Okay. Imagine if you don't know how many victims there are. Or you have a number that you're looking for and you're trying to match up to what actually happened. So imagine if you actually had an incident like this. You're not going to know how many victims you have. You probably won't know for days how many victims you have. And the other thing what happens is, and EMS can tell you this, people start grabbing and moving their friends or whatever. So there's going to be people showing up at the hospital that you didn't have a clue about. And you're going to have people coming and showing up that aren't part of the incident that are going to get in your way. And that can get really crazy. It can get really crazy. When you get one screaming person, and what happens is they take assets that should be working on the patient away from them, away from the situation.
In a real event, would you, so I know the police were involved, at least initially, and then they were doing walk-arounds, finding patients and everything. They were trying to help, like, do initial triage and treatment. In a normal event, once we have that settled, would you like them, like you said, how you had the zones to move, like, to the yellow zone to restrict access instead of trying to treat?
In a real situation, you have a lot more people coming from EMS and fire. I would put police on handling crowd control.
Okay, yeah.
They would be doing police work, not triage work. Obviously they can help if there's patients and you need people, you need bodies to move. When it first starts, that's what happens. You have a few people and you hear the sirens and you think it's taking hours for them to get here because you're the guy and you're the only guy there. And it just seems like it's actually just a few minutes, but it can seem like hours. And at first you're going to have very few people and a lot of victims. But eventually what you're going to have is a lot of people. And somebody has to coordinate. That's the problem. Communication is always tough.
The other part of that too that I think is critical is please understand, as I understand how your communications work in this campus, police are going to be extremely important for getting the information to their dispatch so it's going out to your own students. That's going to be extremely important as to how, like for example, how well they handle crowd control. This is another question. So we put a public information officer in on this commission, and the PIO has to come in case.
I would never use police for triage. They're going to have a lot of stuff going on, and they're going to be much more important for crowd control. They're setting up the zones and things like that, and keeping traffic from moving in here. I mean, somebody has to coordinate the ambulances that are coming in. Well, that's what you need police. You don't need police, carrying victims and everything else. That's what EMS is for. That's what you guys are for. There would definitely be. Once we show up, we would set up an incident command right away, and there would definitely be lines. And EMS, we work with EMS all the time. They would actually be doing the triaging, and you guys would be helping them.
Yeah.
And these guys, they work with victims all the time. We've seen gunshot wounds, we've seen crushed victims. We've done this our whole life. So none of this is going to be new to us. For you guys who went down that scene, septic or first of all, a double compound fracture, something like that, and it's going to be the first time it happens. It's going to be kind of a weird thing for you guys to deal with. So you can have scenarios like this, as many as you want. until you actually see it, it's completely different. So.
Yeah, I've been doing a little bit of research about the involvement of collegiate EMS squads in a couple of recent MCIs. The best example is probably the Boston Marathon bombings. Boston College has a very large BLS transport squad, and their involvement in those bombings, since they're right in the area, was the collegiate EMS squad was responsible for the triage is green and triage is yellow. They took over almost all of that care and re-triaging, leaving the ALS squads available for treatment and transport if triage is red. And so certainly that kind of helps redistribute that you're not seeing those who have much less experience, not seeing the massive traumas and being able to move the less critical patients and care for them.
That's going to happen. I mean, you're going to have, because as ambulances show up, we're going to be trying to get the worst hurt people out there. And that's where recording becomes very important. You know, if you start moving people to the hospital and nobody has any idea how many people you've moved, which hospital they've gone to, or anything else, you'll have a nightmare. The police will have a nightmare because they're going to have people are going to be calling, the media's going to be calling, they're going to be saying, well, how many people are hurt? Where'd they go? You know, I mean, you can't have that. You have to be. You're a professional organization. You have to know all that stuff. So a communications officer becomes very important. And it's it's not, and that's the other thing too. Once you've set up a communications officer, he's not handling patients. You know, that's a big thing, and that's something you'll fall into. Everybody wants to jump in and work with the patients. The guys that are in charge are not in charge of the patients. They're in charge of telling the people that are in charge of the patients what to do. And so, you know, if you're like, you should not have jumped in and work with patients. You shouldn't have been. You should have been at the incident command post. And you should have been telling people what to do, and that's what a commander does. So, you know, there's going to be, believe me, there's going to be enough people that want to get help with the patients, and you know, it's.
Just for this drill, was there an officer in charge of transport, keeping track of who was leaving and where they were going?
Eventually, yes.
All right. Does anyone have any comments for how they'd like to see the drill run differently in the future? Or any suggestions like that from a logistics standpoint behind setting it up?
I think we could, I think most of the conversation kind of emphasizes on that.
So it was like the number of patients, appropriate numbers of distribution of green to red to yellow, adequate, realistic. Does anyone have any comments on that?
Well, that was good. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
Can I just throw this on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Introduce yourself.
All right. Well, my name's Terry Bitternagel. I'm with the Cleveland Fire Department, but I'm assigned to the Cleveland Office of Emergency Management. So where he comes in and he takes control of the scene, but he's not involved. I'm supposed to be looking at this from a city level and thinking about what do we do to support this scene. And in order to do that, we're very heavily based in NIMS. So everybody familiar with the National Incident Management System. If in order to be even involved in here, you guys should have your ICS 100, 200, 700, 800, etc. All right. When I came on the scene, there's a person I was talking to. Where's the morning? I said, I rely on paper forms, and I asked specifically for this. Does anybody know what it is? It's not a pen. It's a lead pencil with an eraser. Because ICS is designed to be used anywhere under any circumstances, regardless. Okay. So this is actually more important than the internet or whatever. Anyway, we use these for forms. So basically, we started an ICS 201, the chief and I, after the incident. Okay, you're showing basically what's going on here from that standpoint. We got the first floor drawn up with the victims where the temporary morgue was. The safety message that should go out to we came up with for all responders at the scene. You're supposed to give a safety message at the beginning of every operational period. This is a mass casualty incident. Practice scene safety. Maintain structural integrity of the building. Okay, that was what we were telling everyone here to do. Scene safe, we know what that means to us and what mass casualty means. But scene safe means, for example, wear your gloves and everything because you may have blood and body fluids and so on and so forth. Okay. The incident command post, we just made a notation where it was located. It was either on the first or second floor of Veal. The objectives of what happened here, and these apply to only the first operational period. These would change if this was ongoing. Triage, treatment, and transport. Establish communications. establish a public information officer with Case Western Reserve University, and establish OTRACS. For those of you that don't know what OTRACS is, it's an acronym, but basically it means it ties this incident into what beds are available throughout the Cleveland area, or Cuyahoga County. So what happens is you would know where to transport so you're not overwhelming one hospital, okay? Communications would be established with CFD was TAC 6, our TAC 6. EMS was Special Event 1, Case Western Reserve, we had the cell number. And that was how we set this up. We would put down the controller's number in case we really had a problem. The command chart itself that we established was command. Command was Battalion 6. Underneath him is the Public Information Officer from Case. And then we set up the 3 branches as triage, treatment, and transport. Case Western was involved in all of them, but on a lesser scale, Case Western was involved in transport for yellows only, and you were using your own transport vehicles. And we started to put down times. However, we really got down a couple of communications. And that was at 10:02, we had 17 green, 5 red, 2 yellow, and 3 black. And about 10:05, the drill was canceled. So that was really about all we accomplished. But anyway, that would have been at least the initial attempt. And this would all be on what's called an ICS 201. Okay? Yep.
All right, so thanks for participating in the quick hot wash session. A bit of information about what will be happening next. The evaluators and controllers are going to meet, and we are going to have a conference and then draft an after-action report and an improvement plan, and we'll make sure we send them out to representatives from all of your agencies. Anyone would like to have any specific feedback into it other than what was said here? Does everybody have my email address or the way to contact? Okay, so if anyone would like to do that, my email address is jer142@case.edu. That's fine. Well, thanks again, and I think that's it.
One other question.
Go ahead.
Maybe for the future, I didn't see many people as far as protect concerns, as far as the gloves and everything. Could they have some maybe to the side, because you don't know what you're gonna get into, but just have it as a safety precaution?